You're listening to the Decor8 Podcast with Patrick Ali and Chad Poole.
Yolan is quite the perfectionist, so for him that doesn't work.
Right.
The half-ass videos doesn't. It's not his how he rolls.
Doesn't fly.
And that's rubbed off on me, I think, a little bit, because as soon as I
And you are, speaking of rolls, you're on a roll today. Boner, turn you on, rubbing you off. And it's not even, I mean, we just now started recording too, so.
Well,
So true.
I said, for the record, I said booner.
There's a lot of hours of the day left, my friend.
No, for him, he's having a blast right now. What time is it there right now?
Talking about blasting off.
It's how much? Or what time?
It's 07.
Oh, that's perfect. Start getting a glass of wine going.
He's detoxing.
I told you I'm on detox.
That's true.
I pay attention to our guests when they're talking. That's the difference between Patrick and I, for anybody that doesn't know, is I pay attention. You just repeat their question in a circular form.
So to clarify, you pay attention to our guests, correct?
Sometimes.
I don't consider Rudy a guest. I consider him my friend. So,
Oh, man.
you know,
Roasted.
there we go. Anyways, we're recording right now, so let's just kind of hop into it. Rudy is back again. Nobody saw the first video because there was just so much chaos in that first video, and you know, a lot of drinks were flowing and stuff like that. No, realistically, this recording cut out, so I'm glad that you're redoing this. So thank you, man, just to start for doing it again. And you debuted the shirt. This is the official debut of the shirt. I love it.
You like it?
Yeah,
I love it.
we
need that file. We got it.
I got that file. I can send it to you guys. It was actually, it was quite nice to see you guys' face up close and personal.
Yeah.
You know, trying to fix those nodes was really quite amusing. I got to see the full
the full
aspect
spectrum.
Well,
yes, Chad's beard was quite nice to go through.
Thank you.
Listen,
Fine comb.
all I'm gonna say is, and I said this a little bit before, if it came down to sales, like square inch sales of Easy Weed, and the way that he made that shirt, I'm selling a lot more Easy Weed than you do, because I'm taking up a lot of real estate.
Fair enough. We'll take them wherever we can get them.
Anyways, what's up, man? How are you? You just got.
That was actually pretty. That was pretty funny. That was good.
Don't worry, I'll be here all week. No problem. So what's up, dude? You just got back actually a few days ago here. You got to come home for a little bit. So how was that?
It was good, man. It was awesome, actually. It was a little bit bittersweet in a way. You know, I actually originally intended to go to surprise my mother and my sister. It was my sister's baby shower the Saturday, the 8th, and I arrived the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, on the 7th, actually, I was boarding my flight in Frankfurt to Miami. I got a message telling me my uncle had passed away. So
I'm sorry.
It was cancer, man. Cancer sucks, you know. He found out 2 weeks prior, and in 2 weeks he was, you know. But it's like, you know, he's 69. He was 69 years old, lived a full life, you know, brought his family over from Cuba to America, and, you know, they're doing quite well. So, you know, he ultimately lived the dream. He gave his family an opportunity, a better life. But so it was bittersweet. You know, the nice thing, I guess if you could consider it nice, the positive was that I was able to see my family all together, which, you know, even though I was expecting to see that for the baby shower, you know, I was still able to kind of see everybody, even my family from Canada that came down. So it very bittersweet, kind of a stressful 2 weeks, just because vacation is never really that. It's always a little bit more stressful than anything. But it was nice, you know. I got to surprise my mother still.
Good.
I actually have a video here. I'll send it to you guys after. But she was pretty surprised after a year of me being gone. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. I noticed that, you know, just as a child of an immigrant too, like, my dad has always been more excited and more satisfied by my brothers and my success than he ever was with his. It's always like this weird thing that you never feel like, you know, his struggle getting here, it will always trump anything that I ever do in my life, whether good, bad, or indifferent, right? But for him, it's so minimal of what he did to give us the opportunity that we have. You know, and so it's one of those things. It has to be with having a foreign parent or a foreign family member. just to understand that, he got here, he made his way here. His family now has a better life. I mean, it's a life fulfilled in his eyes, I think. So that's awesome. And also, I'm sorry to hear, obviously, about the loss of your uncle for sure.
Yes.
Thank you. So, thank you, guys.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you coming back on and hanging out with us, because I'm excited to let people into the world of the Italian market, because a lot of people know, obviously we go to shows all the time and we talk to, well, not so much now, but we talk to a lot of people about how we're an Italian-based company, that basically set up shop here in the U.S. And there's a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. So as we get deeper into this episode, it's going to be cool to see, or really compare and contrast the similarities and the differences between us. But just to kind of get us started, talk about how you got started in the industry, because you have an interesting story from, moving to Florida, playing baseball, working for essentially your coach, and then moving into, Siser, well, another place before that, but then Siser. Just kind of start from day one, man, and how all that worked out.
Yeah, so I was born in Cuba. I was born in I was born in 1989, but I moved to America in 97. As you mentioned, my parents also took the selfless act of moving to a different country to have to give their kids, their children, a better opportunity at life. And so I'm very grateful for my parents, my family. That's my rock. Those are my two biggest supporters always. My mother from day one has always been, I never understood how my mother found more than 24 hours in a day, because it seems like she was constantly just running around, whether it was going to work, coming home from work, taking me to baseball practice, taking my sister to her, to work, to her friend's house, whatever it was that she needed to do. Then came home and cooked. And dinner was always served by, actually the Hispanic, the Latino families tend to eat a little bit later at night. So for us, it was always ready by 8, 9 o'clock, which was, again, standard. But she was able to do it all. And then she would wake up and do it all over again. So my father was probably the hardest worker that I've ever met in my life. I mean, I remember in the summers, I would help him because he would do, he had a tile store. And my father would put tile and also had, sell the tile. So I would spend some days in the sales department in the store, but majority of the time I spent, going around with him and actually helping him put the tile. And I remember the first day that I worked with him, there was no looking back. We get to the house and it's 2-story house. It's out by the beach. So it's midsummer, Florida weather, just brutally hot, humid. And we're having these 12 by 12 boxes of tile, carrying them up and down the stairs, right?
Yeah.
And then we finally get the tile up there, and we go to put it on. And before you put tile on the second floor, you have to put this plywood first, and then you can actually to level it out, the flooring. And I see people, construction workers on the sides working. They have knee pads and they have all these equipment. And I go, "Dad, where's my knee pads?" He goes, "What?" He looks at me with this dead stare, like this Cuban look on his face, and he just goes, "We don't wear those here." And that was it. He put me right to work. It was one of those things that I learned early on. It's consistency, quality of work, but also being able to get it done in time. That was a huge thing for him, is always getting it done in time with precision. He's almost a perfectionist. I mean, he has to have every single line. Everything was perfect. I mean, it was crazy, but it was a good introduction to the world as far as work ethics and the business world I got to experience at an early age with him. So also with that said, I was able also had to witness the downfall, because it was right around the 2008 recession. We lost the store. So, it kind of helped me and build me towards this new world and in life after school, I guess you could say. Yeah. But yeah, so I played baseball my whole life. And I was in high school when I originally met Matt. So Matt, which is the owner of the Rhinestone World, he was my pitching coach for high school. When I was a sophomore in high school, he actually moved me up to varsity at the end of the year so I can train with the varsity team. And then the following year, he went on to do virtual school, online school. And, I didn't see him for a couple of years. And then later on, I was working at Sports Authority, and he was basically a daily shopper there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember Sports Authority was the sporting goods store.
Yeah. What was your title there at Sports Authority? Were you just were you in like a specific department, or are you just kind of all over?
I was put in a specific department. They originally I was in the sporting goods area, so I was, they have the apparel side, the footwear side, and then the hard lines, which in their case is actually the sporting goods.
Yeah.
But within a few days, my boss at the time kind of looked at me and goes, "You can't work the floor. You talk too much." So they stuck me in customer service.
Oh, okay.
So, it's a cubicle which you cannot move. So you're
Really?
stuck in there. I mean, that was their way of having me put in one place.
Yeah.
But, it taught me a lot. I was able to learn sales. We had to sell those insurance plans, those extra extended coverage
the protection plans or whatever they're called.
Ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, at one point we were selling those on shoes.
Really?
It was just the craziest thing you could ever think of. Even insoles, we had to sell insoles, socks. So all you could think of, and it was all, you would get a little bonus of 10 cents or $1 for this, but it added up, So, I had a gentleman named Christian that I worked with in the front, and I learned a lot of my sales tactics and just the approach to sales from him. He was an amazing salesman. I mean, the way he approached the situation, his persistence, and he was relentless. I mean, he would not take no for an answer. And that was his second job. So he was a firefighter and did that on the side. So, and he was killing. I mean, he was just ranking up the bonuses, and just by selling, again, just 10-cent dollar spiffs, So it was impressive, and I understood that there was more value in sales because, okay, so if I sell more, I get more. So that was really intriguing to me. But then one day, Matt started coming into the store, and little by little we started, again, because you have about a minute window there, depending on how much they're purchasing, to build a rapport with these customers.
Right.
So how much time you really have to kind of get into the conversation, and if you're going to sell them an extra extended coverage plan, you really have to, get to that point where you build the rapport, they trust you, and then you got to pitch it, right? So it's kind of a bang, 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 get them out. Because you also don't want the line to build up. But, we started creating a relationship after a few years of not seeing each other. And one day he comes in and decides to buy what I consider probably the most expensive clothes hanger that you can ever purchase is an elliptical.
Yeah.
And he asked me, I told him, this thing is going to sit in the corner of your room.
Right. But guess what? You're going to need that extra warranty on it.
You're going to need that warranty.
You're going to need that protection plan when it falls off the hanger.
Actually, he did buy one. I believe he bought one for that. Okay, see, for that, it makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah.
It's an equipment that I think a lot of things could go wrong, right? But, I sold him the elliptical, and then I get a phone call from him the next day explaining that he had started this new company. Honestly, I was like, I looked at it more as he's called me as a friend that needs a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And then he invited me to the warehouse, and that's kind of how I got started. I didn't know much of the industry at the time. The rhinestone world was strictly only selling rhinestones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the first day I walk into this, I wouldn't call it a warehouse. It's more of kind of office buildings that were converted into a warehouse. But I walk in, and then on the side, I see Matt's mother, and then his brother-in-law is over here. One of my friends, Tyler, had recently started working as well. Mm-hmm. And then Ryan, who's still the logistic manager there. But I remember his mom is sitting on the side over here, just kind of filling up these little baggies. So, I mean, honestly, if you didn't know any better, you could have thought that there was something else going on.
Breaking Bad stuff going on?
There's the fill-up baggies of crack rocks.
He has
or
those
something.
little scales that you can get. Those little scales you get at the smoke shop. You have to go to the smoke shop to buy the little scales.
Right.
But basically, what it was is you had to measure the weight of each bag of stones to calculate the amount of gross. So each bag is, because you have one gross, which is equivalent to 144 stones. So you kind of calculate the weight of what the 10,444 or 40 stones was, and then that gave you the 10 gross, 25 gross, whatever the size bag you needed to be. So we're weighing it to get a more accurate calculation rather than having to count each individual stone.
Yeah, but as somebody that you just reconnected with at Sports Authority.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it this
way,
way,
over to a shop and he's got a couple of scales that you're like, what the hell's going on?
If you think about it this way,
these little.
If all else fails, you either know how to sell drugs or be a jeweler.
Or be a jeweler.
So
yeah, I guess so.
Win-win.
I guess so.
Hey.
Yeah.
Uncut gem.
In best case scenario, you can do both.
Right.
In
Right.
best case scenario, you're doing both.
Right. Right.
Slinging the rhinestones from the front, and then now the drugs at the back, right?
Yeah. So you walk in. Obviously, you see this stuff going on, and you obviously know people. You know somebody there. So what's your first day like on the job, or what? Or was that more of an interview?
First day, I walk in with cargo shorts, flip flops, and a t-shirt.
There you go.
And I said, I kind of like this. I like this vibe. It's kind of cool. We got. It was a really cool atmosphere, honestly. It was from the get-go, you kind of saw something special there. So it was really kind of a unique experience. Again, at the time, I had no idea what I was really doing. It was, again, filling stones. Then I would go over to the table to weed the templates.
Yeah.
So if you guys are not familiar with the rhinestone process, you actually use a vinyl cutter. Mm-hmm. You cut a template material, which is actually, at the time, it was called strip block, which was the pink sticky flock. I'm sorry, sticky flock, not strip block. Strip block is our product. Sticky flock, which is basically a strip block material with the double adhesive on the bottom. That was a gentleman making it in California at the time. Mm-hmm. So basically, the idea is that it's reusable. You can actually place it on the table or a special tool or a little, whatever you're using as your workstation. But the idea is you cut circles into this template. And then amazingly, you brush with a little brush, you actually brush the rhinestones into these little holes, creating the design. All right. So each circle has to be a specific size for the different size rhinestones. So the first machine I ever saw was actually the Jaguar, the GCC Jaguar. Mm-hmm. And then, kind of, again, never really understood the grand scheme of things as far as like what the actual industry had to offer. I'm still in this little office, kind of just seeing these products and materials, but I had no idea what people were actually doing with them yet. This is still my second day at the job. It was until later on, until the trade shows, that I really got a better understanding of the industry. But that was it. The first days I bagged stones, I weeded the template material because you do have to obviously weed the excess and leave the little circles behind. And also they taught me how to do the logistics side of things. So I was in there working with UPS. And so, the amazing thing is that I was able to really kind of hit each department and understand and learn each department with real-time experience. So this is a startup company that's growing quite rapidly at the time. And, I was able to kind of get in there and really understand the shipping, the logistics side, the business, because I was also at the time, we started doing a lot with Facebook and YouTube. So we were doing, it was, three of us doing a lot of the images for Facebook.
Right.
If you see some of the earlier content that the Rhinestone World put out, you're going to see a lot of bold letters, a lot of the Arial black fonts. I mean, it was very dark and manly.
Athletic style fonts, basically.
Freshman varsity fonts were our go-to.
Right.
Brush script. Oh, that was I didn't know what to use. I used brush script.
Yeah.
Just so I could create the tail but it was an interesting time because it was, again, these very kind of dark, manly images trying to promote a business for a large population of our customer base was women. So you had like this really like dark, manly style for marketing, yet we're trying to reach a market, a demographic that was completely different than what we're actually promoting or marketing for. So that was intriguing, but also, again, just a huge learning step in the process of getting where I am now.
Well, it sounds like you definitely, it wasn't tailored at first towards your crowd, your audience, but obviously you guys learned along the way. You had mentioned before that you kind of started in the back of customer service. You started doing the actual fulfillment of the product, shipping. So you learned all the logistics from the back end, which I think is super important. I think we were talking to Kirk the other day about how he went and started filling boxes during the pandemic because you've got so many different components, so many different things going on. It's important to learn the foundations of the business. So I think that's really important. Yeah. But it sounds like where you really cut your teeth was once you started going to trade shows. So can you kind of hit on that a little bit?
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, it's funny enough. The first trade show we ever did, we actually shared a booth with Siser. So I guess you can backtrack a little bit to that beginning point. So after a few months of being at the Rhinestone World, I finally put my 2 weeks in because I was working 2 jobs at the time and still going to school. So I put my 2 weeks in, and then I think right around, I can't remember if it was right around maybe April, around that time, so I think it was 2012. But we finally, we had a new product. Matt was introducing the heat transfer vinyl from Siser. So we finally started carrying the Siser product. We became a distributor. And the funny story, my first introduction to the Siser team members. All right, so it's just random day, and all of a sudden Matt comes in and says, "Hey, we have a visitor today. They're going to talk to us about the Siser product." Again, I still had no clue what heat transfer vinyl was at the time. I was still in this mindset of rhinestones. Oh, cool. This is to create a t-shirt, right? Yeah. I had no idea the other types of process and solutions out there in the market. So Kathleen walks in the door.
Oh, shout out
My
Kathleen.
first introduction to Kathleen.
Yeah.
Yes, shout out to Kathleen. Actually, she messaged me yesterday, actually. So Kathleen, how are you? So Kathleen walks in, and she goes straight to me, and the first thing she asked me for, obviously we introduced each other and do the whole spiel, but the first thing Kathleen asked me is, "Can you get me the pizza box?" And of course, it just happened that we literally had pizza the day prior.
Oh my God.
And I go to the garbage can, and I pick up and you can ask her this all happened. I go to the garbage can and I grab this pizza box and I give it to her, and she gives me just the Kathleen look, like, I don't know if he's serious or if he's joking.
Yeah.
And if he is joking, it's not funny.
Yeah.
I wasn't joking.
Yeah.
But so that was my first experience with Kathleen. She had a laugh. She had a, but it was a good introduction. Who would have thought 7-8 years later this is the path where the road takes me, right? But no, it was a good introduction, a good kind of funny story to get me into the world of heat transfer vinyl and the Siser world as well. So trade shows. Yep, go ahead.
Real quick, Rudy, for those that are listening or watching that don't understand what a pizza box is, can you describe what a pizza box is? Because they're probably like, why is that funny?
Yeah.
It's not. But if you know what a pizza box is for our industry, it would make a lot more sense.
So a pizza box, it's not what you think at all. So a pizza box is actually probably one of the more clever marketing tools that Siser has ever came up with.
I agree.
I don't know exactly. I think Johan had a part in it, maybe him and Chiro. Johan has told me the story in the past, but I can't tell you exactly. I know Johan had a part of it. But a pizza box, basically what it is, it's a box. I'm trying to get the name pizza away from it because it really has nothing to do with pizza other than the fact that it's an Italian brand, so they decided to call it a pizza box.
That's how they confuse individuals like us. The new guys. Hey, grab the pizza box. Oh, okay.
Where's the Domino's box?
Yeah.
So the pizza box basically has different pages. In each page, you have a cutout, a strip, or the name of the product, and then all the different colors are available in that product.
Right.
So for us who do a lot of the presentations and do the open houses and trade shows, it's a great marketing tool, because yes, it's nice to have the color guide. The little strips is great, the little T-shirts, but it's also nice to be able to feel the material, stretch the material, and get a better understanding and see the actual color, the true color when it's applied, whether it's on a black background. Right. So it's actually each page of the pizza box is it's a piece of fabric that already has the materials and the colors applied to it.
It's essentially it's a tangible suitcase that you can carry around with all of your products. So like stretches on a polyester so that you can actually stretch it out. On a nylon that you can actually stretch out. Easy weed, and all the other pages are on, pages that are all pressed together. So it is probably our most utilized marketing tool that we have. Well, for sure.
100% I agree with you, because back in the day, when we were at trade shows, a lot of times customers would come up and they would say, "Hey, can we get that?" And it would just be our wired rack of samples. Yeah. And that's how they want to promote that in their business.
Yeah.
For POS or wherever, just for front of house, so people can see and feel the material, feel the hand, feel the difference, see what the different offerings that we have. And a lot of times it was like, no, we need this for trade shows. So they go with us, but you can do it. We'll sell you all the product and you can do it yourselves. And people are like, no, I don't have the time to do that. Right. So this is very, very, it's ingenuity at its finest.
Well, and it's low profile too. So it's something you can travel around.
It's not huge, right?
All of us travel with it, but also at the same time, it's something that if you have it in your shop, a lot of people take out every single page and they just kind of mount them to the wall in their shop, or they keep it all at the front desk, and you can flip through it and kind of make decisions based off that. So well, so it's not an actual Domino's box. Just to clarify.
Well, sorry to derail us there. I didn't want to. I wanted to hit what the pizza box was. So.
No, it's a great point. Also, the fact that even if you have a storefront, I think it's a huge tool, a great tool to have, because, in the past, you go to a store and they bring out the swatches. And you're going through all the different swatches, and it can become a little bit messy and unprofessional. So you walk into a store and you have this nice pizza box that's already made for you with all the colors, materials. They can feel it, touch it, physically see the actual finish of the product. I think it adds a great value to the storefronts, but also it makes the process much quicker. The actual transaction will actually save you a lot of time in the long run as well. So overall, for us, and I think for the customers and the end user, I think it's a great tool to have.
I agree. Well, before we hit on too much of the trade shows and your former time at TRW, let's kind of briefly go over. We got to trade shows. Now we're in a booth with Siser. Kind of your experiences that you've learned on the road a little bit, and how you got to a point to where you transitioned from TRW to ultimately Siser.
Of course. I think, actually the first trade show we did was ISS Orlando. I think it was 2012 or 2013, right before the NBM Long Beach show. But that show we actually did with Kathleen as well. And we shared the booth. And I remember this show specifically because we get to the hotel room. Sorry, a little backtrack, funny story. We get to the hotel room and it's three of us, right? At the time, it was our first trade show. It's Orlando, so we drove to it. We were excited. It's myself, Matt, and his brother-in-law. And and we have a room. There's two beds. And I go, okay, Matt, where am I sleeping? He goes, oh, don't worry. I got you a bed, air mattress bed.
Oh man!
What?
No, it's fine. No. I was okay with that. I'm okay. I mean, this is the first trade show. This is fun.
There's no expectation. No bar has been set. Okay, fair enough.
This is still kind of like you're still in that early stages of building a business, so you're excited for the opportunity to be there, right? And Matt brings out this air mattress, and I go, Matt, that looks a little bit small. He goes, I think I just brought my son's air mattress, and I have a picture. He actually tagged me in the picture. It's just little. I mean, I'm a small guy, but even this thing was small.
That's hilarious.
My feet are hanging out. So that was my first experience of the trade show. But it was good. It was fun. It was one of those things. I knew it from my time at Sports Authority, especially times like Black Friday, where, it was, chaos, but that's where I felt the most comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like, it's 3:00 in the morning and it's chaos. People are running around trying to buy ping pong tables and all this stuff, bikes, whatever it was that we were selling for that Black Friday. But that's where I felt like most comfortable, most at peace. And I felt like everything else around me slowed down.
Yeah.
And it was the wildest thing. And I never felt that until I went to a trade show. And I never understood why I was able to just kind of, when it was go time in front of people, I just kind of like turned.
Yeah.
And it was really where I fell in love with the industry. Beyond, just the basic learning more of the process, learning more techniques, more solutions. I love to walk around and just kind of see what was new, what was out there, what can be done in this industry. Even though those first few trade shows, it was kind of nonstop. I mean, there would be days that we would be there at 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. without even having anything to eat. Just one quick break because it was three of us, kind of a very, very hot topic, which is rhinestones at the time. And we were just going nonstop. Matt would be showing that program that we had, which is a Corel Draw Macro. Tyler and I, or Andrew and I, were just going back and forth, speaking to the customers, showing the process, letting them do the process as well. But it was really unique. It was finally, I felt like, oh wow, this is what I'm meant to do. And then of course we get hit with some of the customers that, again, this was 2012, 2013. where, you know, the recession had just happened. It was kind of coming at the latter end of the recession. And, you know, we started getting a lot of the feedback from those who really had it rough in the recession time, and they lost their jobs, and, you know, they were at rock bottom looking for another source of income or just any way to get out of this hole. Right. And I specifically remember this couple came up to the booth and just in tears, crying and thanking Matt for all his videos and everything he had done, which helped them get the courage to buy the materials, to buy the equipment, and actually start their own business. And just from watching a few videos, they were now able to actually make a living off of rhinestones and vinyl and this solution that we were providing. So it gave it a human aspect of it beyond just, you know, selling and making videos. It put a face to what we were actually doing, and it actually made us realize that, wow, we really have an opportunity here to do something really incredible, really amazing.
Sure. That's
not just selling something just to sell it.
Right.
This is actually giving people a future, a career, a second income. It's helping people.
Yeah.
And in helping their lives. So it gave me a whole different perspective. And from then on, it was, you know, it was full speed ahead. I mean, trade shows really elevated the status of the rhinestone world, you know, and I learned a lot of great tools there as well, whether it was watching other companies or even things that we did. You know, as a 22-year-old, kind of, you know, at the time I was going to school, university, to become a physical therapist. Not really my field. You know, I should have known early on. The first time I ever went to a hospital, saw blood, and I passed out. I should have known that being a doctor was not my forte. It's not my future. Even though my sister became a doctor.
I'm the same way.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. You and I clicked from the get-go.
Oh yeah. He probably saw me doing some sweet dance moves or something after hours. I'm like, he's like, oh, look at this jabroni. Better go say hi to this guy.
I love being in the hospital, not to be weird.
That's weird. That is weird.
That was one of my
you can't
favorite,
say not to be weird. That's really weird, dude.
One of my favorite jobs I ever had was being a medic, man.
Well, I mean, we appreciate you doing that.
That's more power to you.
Yeah.
That's more power to you. Those who are nurses, doctors, more power to them. I am not somebody that can do that job.
Yeah. I mean, I had a classroom filled with those people, though. You know what I mean? Like there are some that get into it because there's two aspects of it, and this is kind of talks about our industry as well, is when you get into like medicine, police, fire, or EMS, a lot of those people are former athletes and deal very, very well with controlled chaos. So even like in our industry, the reason why I'm so comfortable in a show, and you can probably attest to this, Chad, you can attest to this too, is that having controlled chaos, but also having control over your environment, like your immediate environment, makes me feel like I'm playing a sport. Like it's a game to me almost.
I agree with that.
You get like this weird you have, you know, and for anybody that's never been to a trade show, it's like you're in a 10 by 10 booth, but right next to you, or 20 by 20, whatever size booth you are, but right next to you on either side are the same exact size booths. And then right across the aisle from you, 15 feet away, are the same size booths. And everybody's talking, and there's constant chaos all the time. And somebody has a giveaway, so you see 200 people run over to somebody's booth, and then everybody's piling into your booth, or you're trying to sell for the next person that you might be assigned to work with, or you're partnering with that day. And it's like all of that craziness that goes on makes me feel like I'm back on the field playing lacrosse, or like I'm back in the field as a medic, because the only person that has control at that time is me. Like there's chaos going around you all the time, but you keep your head on a swivel, and like you're always trying to sell this or give this or teach somebody at the same time. And that's, I don't know. Yeah. That's just my perspective from a crazy person. But
I thought you were going to say like what brings you when you're like back in the alley, ready to pick up that spare.
ready to pick up that spare.
Just rolling with the pins.
Just rolling with the pins. But no, that's how a lot of those guys were in my class too. Some, you know, you get those guys that just, they love the environment, but it's just when it gets into blood, or it gets into, you know, obviously seeing people in their most vulnerable position, they can't handle it. So.
Real quick story on that. So I think I was probably about 15, 16 years old. We were playing football, and my cousin was on my team as well, and he got a gnarly head injury.
Yeah.
like gashed. I think it was from the edge of another helmet, gashed him
really?
pretty good up here. And so I had gone to the hospital with him. It's my cousin and my aunt was there. And we get in the room and the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna stitch you up, bud." He's like, probably about 6 to 8 stitches. Yeah. And he goes to inject him with like what do you use to numb?
Just like the anesthetize, whatever that.
You definitely didn't pass medic school.
Listen, I didn't say I was a nurse, man. No, it's just a local anesthetic. That's all it is.
Anesthetic. There it goes. So, anyways, he pulls out this needle, dude, and this needle was long.
Which, by the way, they don't actually put the needle in your skin. When you do that, you feel the burn of the medication.
Okay, so well, just look to me like
it hurts.
Well, so anyways, he goes to shoot him in the head, right? He goes, "All right, if anybody's queasy or whatever, sit down."
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, "Queasy, stupid." Yeah. He's like, "Everybody sit down, please." I'm like, "No, I want to see it." You know?
I want to see it.
So he goes and he sticks him right in the forehead, right? Certainly. And I'm looking at him like, "Oh man!" And all of a sudden, Rudy, my head just starts going. And out of nowhere,
you feel the blood just rushing down, right? Yep.
Boom.
Oh no!
I wake up. I'm in the hospital hallway, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Right?
Are you on a bed? They just put you.
I'm on a bed in the middle of the hospital hallway, and they brought me out. And I guess when this happened, my aunt started kicking me like on the ground because she's like, "This isn't funny, Chad. Stop playing with the doctor." Because the doctor went after me.
Yeah.
My cousin's got this needle hanging in his forehead. I'm out, right? And everybody thinks I'm playing.
Yeah.
But no, I woke up and I was just green as anything. And my cousin's still upset with me from that day. But so I'm out.
Sometimes the brain's got to shut off and just do a quick little reboot, you know?
I'm out on any of that.
Anyways.
Chad goes to his cousin. Yeah, I'm sorry. Next time I'll try to tell my brain not to laugh.
I'll try not to reboot it.
I'll try not to pass out next time.
He's like, "Well, how about you just sit down when he tells you to?" And I'm like, "Okay, I guess you can."
That's funny, man. All right. Anyway, sorry. Back to you.
That was a good story.
Where are we at? How'd you join Siser?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess back to the story, right?
Yeah.
No. So one of the things I wanted to mention was I know I had mentioned to you before on the last recording, but I think it's a cool concept and it's a cool idea of how you can reach new customers, even at something like a trade show, and that's free advertising. One of the coolest things that I think we did early on was every single T-shirt that we had was all blinged out. Mm-hmm. So it would always be, 3-4 guys walking around the trade show floor with bling on them, rhinestones all over.
Yeah.
100 people see you. I guarantee you, one of them is somebody's going to have a reaction towards it, and it's going to actually make them go to your booth. And then the other thing was on the back, we had the Rhinestone World, the company name, website. And then underneath, we had a rhinestone QR code, huge QR code that took up the whole entire back. And it was all rhinestones. So you can actually click on it. And this was in the time when the QR code with the phone was becoming kind of popular. Yeah. And so you just scanned it and basically it took you right to the website. But you know how many people, I would just be walking around, maybe going to the restroom, and they would stop me. Say, "Hey, where can we find your booth?" So it was a great marketing tool, and it was kind of that eye-opening experience that you realize that we're in an industry where we're really fortunate because we get to wear our own products.
Yeah. Right.
What better marketing tool is that to be able to create a T-shirt that you like and actually wear it around and then promote yourself? Yeah. So it's one of the things we always preached. We were focusing a lot on the sports world, right? So a lot of our designs, a lot of our marketing was for the sports world. And I mean, cheer teams, football teams, and more specifically, the parents that are actually supporting these teams. So we would always focus on always have a card in hand, always have some kind of, some information regarding your company or business, because you never know when somebody's going to ask, "Hey, where did you get that? How can I get one? Could you do custom work?" So it was early on, we kind of started seeing these trends of what was working. And social media at the time was really, really popular, or starting to become really popular for businesses. So we really took advantage of Facebook, YouTube, and all the big outlets to reach the customer base. And it was all free. So it was all free advertising that we were creating, content that was building our SEO, but we didn't have to put a cent into it. So I think that was one of the magical aspects of what helped the Rhinestone world really grow rapidly and stay in course as well. But from the trade shows came the next aspect, which was just meeting the industry names, some of the people that you see on YouTube, and that was really important for me. Being able to start meeting and connecting with other people, other professionals in the industry, added a lot of value to what I brought to the table. Why? Because I was, like you had mentioned, I actually like to go to the trade shows and walk around and go to the different booths and just ask questions like I'm just a customer. First, to see how people are reacting, if there's the sales team is walking up to you, and you learn a lot from this, how you gain tips, you learn what not to do and things like that. So I thought it was a huge experience to be able just to kind of interact with other sales people in the showroom and all around the industry, because you learn a lot from them. I mean, these are guys that have been doing screen printing, have been doing embroidery 50, 40 plus years, and there's a lot to learn. They've seen a lot of first hands-on situations that, for somebody that was 22 years old, I was, just getting started. No way would I ever thought this could be a possible solution or a possible resolution to this problem. But one of the great things that happened also was I became very close with the Siser team. So at the time it was Brett, Joe, Kathleen, and Johan doing a lot of I would say all the trade shows at the time still.
Yeah.
So I met Brett early on, and Brett and I clicked right away. I mean, he was a sports guy, I was a sports guy, baseball guy myself, and he was also into baseball.
Yeah.
So for us, it was just kind of that instant click, and I mean, we've been really close friends ever since. Same thing with Johan. Johan actually, at the time, Johan was still in the process of building Siser to where it is now. So it was really cool to meet Johan at a part of the process where it was still early on, and to see where he is now and how much he's accomplished has been a true blessing, because from him, I've learned so much. Yeah. I mean, you have bosses and then you have leaders.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that the perfect example of a leader is Johan.
100%.
For many reasons. I mean, he doesn't micromanage, which is the best part. He lets you grow based on what you're willing to put into it. Mm-hmm. He will just give you the roadmap. Hey, this is the end result that I want. You get there how you need to get there. Grow, get experience, but do it your own way. Yep. And I think that gives you a lot of freedom to be yourself, but also to impress him. I think we're all trying to impress, whether it's Chiro here, Johan there, but not because they're bossy or they're on top of you, but more because you respect the way that they go about their business, their everyday business, and their leadership style. That makes you really want to work for them and keep elevating the level that you're bringing to the team and to the entire company. Yeah,
I mean, that mentality, I'm glad that you said that, because that I think that summarizes exactly how I feel about, Johan and Brett and Joe and our team here, is that, especially Johan, is that, there is no expectation on how you do it. It's just, this is what I'm trying to get. This is what I'm trying to accomplish, is what my end goal is. And I give you creative control. And if you make it work, awesome. And if you don't, that's okay too, because it's funny enough, we're just looking at a couple different products right now that he asked me yesterday, ironically enough, to work on. See, hey, test these out, see if they cut, see if they weed, see if they apply properly. And I'm the kind of person, I try to make it work. I'm like, okay, if it's not working the easy way, how can I make this work? And then explain how that process is. And it's simple enough. He goes, listen, you can't make every product work. If it's not easy for us, it's not going to be easy for them. And so like just the fact that, I don't feel ever like I'm going into a project or doing something and there's an expectation of success every time. Like majority,
you didn't fail.
Right. Majority of this stuff is, a non-expectation of being, having full-blown success out of something. Sometimes it's not going to work, and that's okay. But to not feel that, that you're always under some kind of microscope or under some kind of radar. I mean, it's just such a great feeling, and it's a testament to him and what he's built here, because that even trickles down to all of us, you know what I mean, in this office. And I feel like everybody, it's almost like, you know, I look at it like this, which he's going to kill me if he hears me say this, but he's like dad. You always want to impress, you know, you're always working hard to impress dad. You know, you always want him to, you know, at the end of the day, be proud of what he's accomplished through you. And that's how I feel a lot of the times. I know he'll beat me up because he hates titles and he hates, you know, getting positive affirmations of things, but that's how I feel a lot of the times. It's like I'm always trying to make sure that the next thing that I do makes sense and that he can be proud of his team. And I'm not, I guess, the weak, you know, that we're not the weak link of the team.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Rudy and I have known each other a long time, and we grew up, so to speak, in this industry around similar circles, right? So,
absolutely.
A lot of the people that you're referencing have been influencers to both of our careers, and I think that by just being around them and seeing their presence at a trade show or seeing how they pitch a certain product or getting to know them and them taking the time to talk to you over a beer and dinner or whatever,
right.
It goes so far into my success, at least, and I'm pretty sure Rudy can say the same. So
yeah,
I agree. No, I think it's a huge benefit. You know, I think it's, you know, because sometimes you see some of these influencers and you watch their videos and you're excited to meet them, and then, you know, the reality doesn't really check out with what you see on video, you know? I think that's one of the huge benefits that Siser has is we have somebody like Joe Piazza, where I think he's more confident, not confident, but more comfortable on screen. And then when you meet him in person, he's this very humble, laid back type of person that is just, you know, so I became close friends with Brett because obviously we have a lot in common with the sports, but then with Joe was kind of a unique relationship because, you know, we in a lot of ways, we don't have a lot in common when it comes to, you know, our background. You know, he's a music guy, I'm a sports guy, you know, so a lot of differences, but yet we clicked so well because there's this human aspect of Joe that is so beautiful that, you know, you're really talking to a human being and he listens and he gives you advice, whether it's, you know, from what he believes or just personal advice. And you go, wow, this, you know, this is actually a really cool guy. You know, so, you know, I have one time in particular where Joe came down to a Miami office a couple years ago. And I mean, it was just, you know, it was, you know, at the time my parents were going through a breakup where they were getting a divorce. And, you know, it was kind of one of those things we went out to dinner and then just had a couple of drinks and he was asking me, how's everything going? And I hadn't really talked to anybody about this topic because it's not something I like to mention too much. But he related to me in a way that it was, you know, he gave me some positive feedback and made me feel better. Obviously, not better about the situation, but helped me understand that it's okay. You know,
that's cool.
It's okay. It's part of just life, you know. So I have a lot of respect for Joe because he is the exact opposite of what you typically get in the industry, where you have these faces, these influencers that, you know, make it seem like they're one way, but when you finally meet them, they're completely opposite. With that said, there is a lot of great influencers in the industry as well.
100%.
And I'm just talking in general, you know. And if you're Instagram famous or social media famous, you know, there's a lot of times you run into these people in life and it's just a facade that what you see that 1 minute post is not a true.
Well, and I laugh at that, and Rob and I looked at each other because we had that situation happen, you know, and we won't say any names or anything like that, but it was just somebody that I actually respect a lot of his videos and content that he puts out, right? But when I approached him about it, and this is also somebody that has literally said that, like, you know, we're the backbone of how he's become successful. And when I asked him, I was like, hey, we'd love to do a podcast with you. I mean, he's got a ton of followers, and this is no distributor, reseller, anybody. This is strictly just an influencer. He's like, well, it's $5,000. And I go, wait, what the hell? All right, so he's like, yeah, it's $5,000, 2,500 before and 2,500 after, and I was like, you know, with all due respect to those kind of people, I'm like,
and you still got me. I mean, I'm here.
Yeah. So,
You're welcome.
With all
that was a bargain right there.
Right, it was. With all due respect, obviously him and his following and what, he could potentially bring to us, it was one of those things that like, I'm and maybe you're right. Maybe we're a little bit spoiled here because we have somebody like Joe who is the opposite end of that spectrum, where like when we sat him down here in the chair, I mean his episode is on was on two weeks ago. Because this will be
you guys just posted it, right?
Yeah.
Posted it yesterday.
We just posted
I watched some of it.
Posted it today that we're doing the interview, but this will be 2 weeks ago on the thing. But anyways, you, myself, Brett, Johan, I don't know if Chad has had the opportunity yet, but like having a real in-depth personal conversation with somebody like Joe and understanding his background and where he comes from and his story, you gain a whole new world of success or of appreciation. Yeah, thank you. Of appreciation for what he's done and how he's become who he's become. Because he is definitely a guy that, and I'm tooting his horn again because I did it on the episode as well. I really owe a lot to him in where we're able to take this. But at the same time, he's somebody that he'll give you all of himself, but he also will tell you when it's a little too much. Tell you when it's too much if you're trying to take too much. But at the same time, he's the kind of person that if he's in your booth, he's working your booth because he's used your products or he likes your team. He's not working your booth because he doesn't have any affiliation with you. That's just the way he is. And he's always been very supportive of everybody and anything and hasn't really swayed too far from that. So it is, it's a huge testament to him as well. But
no, it's funny because actually one of sorry, I think I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, you're good. You didn't cut me off.
You sure? Oh,
yeah, 100%.
No, one of the stories that I always mention is because Joe's one of those guys that's he likes to be on time. He wants when you tell him something, he believes it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I remember when he was doing it was one of his movies. They were coming up with a trailer. It was like the trailer announcement, and I had told him months before that I was going to go to the trailer and I was going to be there. And we never talked about it again. He just mentioned it one time, and that was kind of it. And then the day of, he walks in the door. He's with all his co-stars, and I'm just sitting there at the bar, just having my whiskey on the rocks, and he looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I go, "I told you I was going to be here."
Yeah.
And he was so appreciative, but he was so appreciative that I actually showed up. I was there on time, And I know he mentioned that in the podcast, that he likes to be on time. He's very punctual, which is very true. But he was so surprised, and I think the fact that first of all that I showed up, but the fact that it was one conversation we had, and I said yes I would go, and I showed up. For him meant the world.
Yeah.
So we had a really good time, and that's the kind of person he is. That to 100%. Him, just be loyal to him, and he's going to be the best person you could ever know or meet. So
100%.
Much props to Joe.
Love you,
I also
Joe.
want to give a shout out to a couple of the team members over there.
Yeah, go for it.
Ulrike was she helped me a lot for my move up to Detroit and then back down to Miami, getting the front office in Miami. So Ulrike, and of course my boy Dave.
Yeah.
I would tell you, if I look like Dave when I get older, I'm doing something right in life.
Right. Don't get his head too big before he comes on here, man.
Mr. Salt and Pepper.
It's already big enough.
Mr. Salt and Pepper, yeah. No, you're absolutely right though. I mean, our entire and that all trickles down again from the way that Johan runs his team. Everybody has the same personality, the same mentality, and you're absolutely right, Ulrike. I just have to do that because Ulrike knows. Her and I, we're buddies now. I absolutely love her to death. She's exactly the same way that you're describing. Like, just doing little things and going down and helping in advertising and distribution and stuff means so much because it just shows that obviously you want to be a part of the team. You know what I mean? In general, that's the important part. But at the same time, that kind of stuff just means a lot because she has a lot on her plate. Dave's got a lot of everybody in this company that's on that quote unquote management level, even though we hate those titles, has so much on their plate. So the little things count, and those pennies and dimes or nickel and dimes, whatever, they all add up at the end of the day. So it's super important.
I agree.
For sure. All right. Let's, you want to hop into some segments?
Sure.
I got a couple prepped out. We're going to do this or that. And then we're going to do, what's your favorite?
Okay.
But for this or that, and we don't have to get political or anything. I told you I wouldn't do this to you last time. This or that, Italian food or American food? So U.S. or Italy, what's your preference?
Oh, I know the answer. You know how I know this answer? Because we recorded this before.
Because we recorded this before? Yeah, I know.
We recorded this before, right?
Come on, give me.
But I want to hear it again.
But we didn't get to air it. I want everybody to know.
See, it's weird, man, because I really do love a lot of different types of food. I know I told you last time a pretty direct answer, but I've been thinking about that question. I've been thinking a lot about that question.
Been losing sleep over this one question. I love it.
No. I mean, if I were to have a choice, I would honestly say Hispanic food, Cuban food, Latin food would be my favorite by far. Peruvian food is amazing. I would say Italian food I definitely like. Yeah. If we're talking about like meats, I would definitely say American food. But it's interesting, because I think if you stay here long enough, you're eventually gonna have that. Your body's gonna want some type of American food. That happens to me all the time here. I can go weeks eating Italian food, that's fine, but there's that one day that I just want a nice fat juicy burger, right? Mm-hmm. But same thing, even when I was over there in the U.S., I got to a point after 2 weeks, I was like, I kind of want, I wish I was back there eating a little bit, a small plate rather than this huge plate. But I would say Italian food I definitely like. I like the flavors. I like the difference. There's more variety, I would say. But when it comes to, if you like your steak, I would still say obviously U.S. because it has, they do use a little bit more seasoning and a little bit more salt and pepper.
Yeah.
So I do prefer.
Shout out Dave.
Shout out Dave.
Salt and pepper. I like that. Yeah.
Yes. But I would say if it still comes down to it, I would still choose Hispanic, Latino food any day of the week. I can eat. I mean, because it includes obviously you have your seafood, you have your rice, which is what I until I was about 21 years old, I ate rice every single day of my life.
Yeah.
It's just part of, in Cuba, you don't have much resources, so you're very limited to what you can make.
Yeah.
With a lot of flavors.
I was going to ask you, ask you, and excuse my ignorance for it, but is there anything like really specific to Cuba that you kind of, go back and you're like, I gotta get something that's Cuban?
Yeah.
Pork?
What's that?
Pork?
Yep, exactly. So there's a lot of different styles of food, Cuban foods that are really, the famous ones is one that's ropa vieja, which is like shredded beef.
Okay.
But it has like olives and it's like in a sauce. It's really, really good. Then you have pork, your pork, because it's the easiest type of meat to get in Cuba.
Yeah.
The rice and beans, black rice and beans, which is called congri, which is dark, like it's black rice and black beans.
Dude, you're making me hungry.
Yeah.
What time is it right now?
It's very good.
That's awesome.
And then but that would be, and one of my favorites all time is actually that. It's congri, which my mom makes an amazing.
Yeah.
Then you have like a black bean soup, which is called potaje, which is kind of like a liquid soup with beans inside, and then pork. That's like your standard. That is your kind of, if you go to like Miami, that is the one thing you have to get.
Okay.
Coming over.
So whenever we get a chance to go back down to Florida.
Oh yeah.
Whenever you go visit Guillaume, yes.
Yeah.
But of course, the Cuban sandwich is also very, very popular.
Yeah. Can't beat it.
For sure. All right, and then we'll do a quick what's your favorite. So out of all the product lines that you offer, and now for anybody that doesn't know, sometimes our Italian market calls it maybe something different than we do, so we'll try to keep it within the world that everybody knows. What's your favorite product thus far? What's something that you think that you use probably the most?
I probably use easily Stretch by far. Yeah, just I do like the matte finish. I like the finish, the feel of it. Actually, this is done with Stretch right here.
I love it so much. Such a good.
Even it's one of those products here in Europe is not as popular. The Stretch, I think it's becoming more and more now because some of the content that you guys have put out with some of the Stretch videos, but. It's not as popular here, but because I think people think Stretch and instantly they eliminate cotton, which is not true. Obviously Stretch still works perfect with cotton if applied correctly. But I would say definitely Stretch. I like the matte finish of the Stretch and the feel, the touch of it is very soft.
Nice.
Even though I will have to admit that I don't really wear many shirts with graphics on them.
Okay.
I think it's just because I'm in the industry and I see it all the time. I like just basic t-shirts. I will wear a black or white t-shirt any day of the week just because to me it's simplicity. And I think there's also another back end to it that, to me, I struggle with the cost of certain retail brands because
knowing how it's made.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend will fight with me until the end because I see a t-shirt that literally I know where they're getting the plain t-shirt.
Yeah.
But one is costing you $15 and the other one's costing you $70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just because you put a little Nike symbol doesn't mean that I'm going to pay an extra $80 for it. You know?
Right.
I'll call him out right now. Victoria's Secret, if you're listening, I know all that pink stuff is just straight vinyl. Come at me.
She's like,
that's funny.
But and to me, it's almost like it's hard. Yeah. How do I pay for something that's costs this much when I know the true cost of it?
Yeah.
It's for me. It's kind of that. The dark side of the industry is knowing the actual cost in the back end, but I can't do anything about it. That's just the way my brain thinks. Why am I going to spend extra money when I can save money?
Well, and that's why
I don't care.
I get into those arguments all the time because, like, all my polos are from Walmart. I mean, this is $6, but like most of them look like anything you would buy at any bigger store. And at the end of the day, my wife and I were talking about this one day. I was like, if I wanted to, I just, regardless, it's for personal use, I'll just put the logo on it myself. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily need anybody else. Hey, it's for personal use, man.
Get us in trouble.
It's for personal use. Anyways.
So if I buy it off the shelf, it's for personal use too.
Okay, whatever, dude. I'm done.
The thing is, that's the thing is, I'd rather save that extra $50 and use that on a trip. I'd rather go spend it, go somewhere on a vacation, somewhere nice. For me, that's where I prefer to spend my money is more towards these things than something that I know. And let's be realistic, in 10 washes, half of these shirts that cost you $70, $80 are no longer really worth $70, $80. So there's no investment in clothing for me. So why would obviously purchased clothing, obviously what we're in our industry, obviously.
So we know two things. We know that Rude is smart, and we also know he's got a ton of mattress money. So we need to go see him for a minute.
Actually, I wanted to ask both of you guys a favor, a quick favor. We're getting the go home queue over here because they've got to use the studio for some other things, but we didn't get into nearly the amount of stuff I wanted to with the transition to actually moving to Italy. What things are like over there? What some trends you guys are seeing, and how you've adapted to all of that? Because it's funny, you were talking about earlier about how your parents moved to a foreign country at the time just to make life better.
Right.
You're kind of repeating that circle of life in a way. So I'd like to hit on that more. So would both of you guys be comfortable if we do this episode 1 and then we follow up with an episode 2?
I'm good with that.
Hitting on some more of that stuff.
I like that.
I am. Let's do it. Absolutely.
Because I would like to talk about that.
Honestly, man, I'm in quarantine right now. For me, this is a pleasure to be able to sit down with you guys and just talk it out a little bit, because it's, sometimes I spent the last 3 days here by myself without anybody to talk to.
Stir crazy. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Rudy, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. No, I think there's a lot we still need to talk about for sure. Beyond just me, I think it's great catching up with you guys. So
good.
Always appreciate the time.
Well, awesome. we love you, buddy, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. And if you want to find any of our content, again, we are all over the place. The Decor8 Podcast, DECOR 8. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on iHeartRadio. So if you have iHeartRadio, you can definitely do that. Sorry, Rudy, you can't get it there. Just kidding. But
I'm used to it.
Yeah, but it's always a pleasure, man. And we'll just consider this part 1.
Yep.
Part 2 is coming soon. We will see y'all later. Thank you.
Later, Rudy. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rob. Right. Hey, who's going in there now? Is it Joe?
Joe is doing his live here in a little bit.
Yep.
Product
Joe.
announcement.
Yeah, I guess he's earned the right to kick us out at this point.
100%.
Yeah. So.
All right, we're done.
He might be the only one with that type of power.
With that clout, right? All right, Rudy. Good to see you as always, my friend.
You too, guys. Take it easy, man. Tell everybody to say hello.
Yep, we'll do.
I'll go to the town.
Hold on one second once we get this theme song.